Well, hi. Welcome to a conversation that I'm really looking forward to having with Tyler Edwards, who is an undergrad researcher who's been working in my lab and also an amazing Duke undergrad. And we thought it would be fun for us to talk about what it's like to be at Duke, both as a professor and as a student, and how we work together and how much we value liberal arts education. So that's our goal for the day. Tyler's going to kick it off by asking you some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so like Emily said, I'm Tyler Edwards. I'm a rising junior at Duke. I'm from Apex, North Carolina, and I'm studying biology, but I'm also getting a certificate from Science and Society. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But yeah, I've been working with Emily for a year now, which is crazy. It feels like it's been longer than that, but yeah, it's only been a year since last summer. And a lot of stuff has happened during that time, like me doing my research projects. Right now I'm working on a cool science communication project, but also Emily, you just got like a really big promotion. So yeah, not only is Emily a professor, but she's the chair of the bio department now, which is a pretty big title. So I guess to start off, I'm curious about what that means more simply. Like, how would you explain what you do now to your parents?
I think that's interesting that you call it a promotion. Most of my colleagues say condolences for the job, the service job. I mean, so basically I am a professor. My major job continues to be, running a research lab, teaching classes. But now as the chair of the department, I'm really representing our entire faculty. And in our department, that's about 70 people to the administration, and also helping interpret what the administration needs for our faculty. So now I suddenly have this giant constituency. It's no longer just my lab group. It's like trying to actually speak for a much larger group of faculties. That's how my job has changed.
Yeah, that's a pretty big responsibility. Yeah, but it's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it, right? For sure. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like we talk pretty frequently. Like during the summer, we meet about once a week, but I only really know you as a scientist. So I'm curious about, like, what were you like as a kid? Were you always into science, or was there a time when you just decided that you wanted to get into science, or how did that happen?
Well, not surprisingly, as a kid, I was a nerd, a big nerd. I think I was always into nature, not necessarily science. I grew up next door to this retired biology teacher who'd been, in World War II, she'd been stationed in the Philippines as a Women's Auxiliary Corps, and she had her house was just full of all kinds of collections, birds, eggs, rocks. Her yard was full of bird feeders, and she was constantly bringing me insects that she had mounted, and so I had this amazing insect collection. And so I think because of Helen Myers, she got me so excited about biology. But I wasn't thinking of it as a scientist. I guess I was thinking of it more as a naturalist. But then when I was in high school, I was sort of debating between being following a career as a musician. I played French horn, was a total band nerd, or following a career as a scientist. And so that really was my kind of tension when I was starting looking at colleges.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you're being a little humble about that. You told me that you got a full scholarship to college for French horn.
Was offered
you must be pretty good.
A scholarship to go become a French horn player. Yeah.
Okay, so why did you put it down?
Well, I think people think about the two reasons. People talk about how academia is a rat race and it's really hard to get a faculty job, but it is much harder to get an orchestra job. And I think I also, just for me, I felt like it was really important to me that whatever job I did, I felt like I would feel fulfilled that I was giving back. And I wasn't feeling that as much from the possibility of a career as a musician as I did as a career as an environmental scientist. So not that musicians don't give back, just for me, I didn't feel like that was going to be as fulfilling.
Makes sense. So I'm curious, do you have any other hidden talents that I don't know about?
I like to decorate cakes.
What?
I think one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with you, Tyler, is they asked us to talk about the value of a liberal arts education, right? And I think you, like me, we both really like to play on the creative side and the sort of logical STEM side of our brains, and that I like to find the things I love the most about my job are when I get to merge those two things together, like drawing an amazing conceptual figure, or really fine-tuning the prose in a scientific paper to make it maybe kind of beautiful in addition to technical. And so I think the value of being in a liberal arts college is that you can satisfy both sides of the brain at the same time during your training.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I've definitely sampled probably maybe a little bit more than I should have.
No, let's talk about you for a second. Let's talk about you. Because, okay, so one of the things I love being about Duke and being a Duke professor is to work with undergrads like you, who, you know, I'm having to constantly try to get you, come back to the lab, Tyler, while you're actually organizing a giant production. So let's talk about what you spent your time doing last year.
Yeah, for sure. So last summer I was all research all the time. I was counting bugs, thousands and thousands of bugs all summer, you know. But then for the semester, for the fall, I was actually producing a musical with Hoof and Horn. I've been really interested in musical theater for pretty much my entire life, and I've experienced a lot of different facets, but producing was a totally different ball game. Like, I was in charge of the administrative stuff, I was in charge of budgeting, I was like trying to coordinate all of the people doing the creative things, and that took up probably like 20 hours a week. So I unfortunately did not have time for science, but I was also working on some STEAM things. Because I'm involved with Science and Society, I was taking classes related to the connections between STEM and politics and STEM and policy. And my spring semester last year was spent doing a lot more STEAM related things. I was a part of a STEAM, the first annual STEAM consortium. I don't know what to call it. It was like a big meeting where people presented STEAM projects from all around campus and different faculties, from dance to music, like opera type music, to theater, to podcasting, which is now what I'm more into. But yeah, I think I've really taken some time to just explore those things, and I think that's a really valuable part of the experience that I've had at Duke, and definitely. And
I think you're being modest now too. You're like, oh, I wasn't able to get in the lab, but you're only a rising junior, and you basically have all the data in hand for your honors thesis.
This is true.
So I think, you know, it's totally possible to mix these things together. And maybe we should turn a little bit of our conversation now to our audience, right?
Yeah.
People coming into Duke, and what advice should we be giving them? What would you say?
I think some of the best advice that I got when I was coming into Duke was actually from Condoleezza Rice. I went to a conference that she was presenting at. I was going to high school in Durham, so I actually went during my senior year of high school. But she said something along the lines of, in life, we're never going to know exactly what the path to our future is going to be. And you shouldn't expect to be able to plan that whole thing out. And don't even try to think about what a potential endpoint is. Instead, what we should really be trying to do is make sure that each step that we're taking is one that you're interested in, you're passionate about, and one that challenges you. So that's something that really resonated with me, and I feel like I kind of try to live by that. When I was coming in as a freshman, I knew that I was interested in theater, so I got involved with that pretty quickly. But I also auditioned for sketch comedy, and I also was a spoken word poet, so I was doing that pretty heavily too. So, and I also wanted to explore journalism and communication, so I took a political science class and a cultural anthropology class, and I got into Duke Student Broadcasting to try and learn how to use video cameras and all of that type of thing to just explore. And I think that is something that is really encouraged at Duke. You don't need to be a master at something in the way that I felt like I needed to be when I was a senior in high school to, like get into a place like Duke as a freshman. Yeah. It's more important to explore. And
I think that's really beautiful, Tyler. And I think that's kind of what I would say is that I think a lot of high school is devoted to getting to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now is the time to let go of that, like, this is what you need to do to get into a great college, and instead say, now you're here, let yourself really enjoy it. Let yourself really deeply experience it. And if hearing what Tyler just said made you tired, because you're more like, I really want to go, I know what I want to do and I want to go deep, that's fine too, right? But like the opportunity is there to basically nerd out on something that you are like particularly passionate about 24/7 for all 4 years, or to just sample everything. And both of those options are totally viable and worthwhile, and you can really satisfy whatever itch, right? Whatever combination of itches are really what motivates you to be in class. And so I think as a professor, I'm really excited to see when students make that transition from like, this is what I need to do to check off the boxes, which unfortunately is so much of what getting to college is about, and really embrace like, I am satisfying my curiosity, or I'm really passionate about this. And that is, even if you don't feel that way when you interact with a professor, if you say you feel that way, professors will give you all kinds of time and be there for you to help encourage that passion and that curiosity. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's another thing that I wanted to mention. The professors at Duke, some of them are, just like, oh, I'm just here to teach a class or whatever, but I haven't met anyone like that. Like, theoretically, they exist. But all of the professors that I've interacted with are really cool people. Like, and not only that, but they're really excited about the things that students are doing at Duke, because everyone is doing such cool things. Like, I think that's something that the incoming students will find out pretty quickly, that the people in their class are really cool and really interesting. And that can be kind of intimidating, but it's just as true about the professors, in the sense that I think that one thing that I've really learned from being your student and like fostering our relationship is that you're always in my corner. Like, y'all, Emily is always giving me new opportunities. She's always like, who should do this really cool thing? Tyler, you should go do it.
I would say, like, I'm glad that has been your experience with most professors. And if you encounter someone who's that's not your initial experience with, go find another professor to interact with, right?
Yes.
Because in general, I think most people who are here at Duke are brilliant and interesting, and you just got to take the time to actually get to know them as an individual, right? And then so many things can happen. And I want to say that I've learned a lot from Tyler this summer, because since you can't go work in New Hampshire, which was the plan, she's been interviewing people on a podcast about what it's like to be a scientist at the place she was supposed to be being a scientist.
Yep.
And every single one of those interviews, she's been asking people what they tell their parents about what they do, which I think is a really cool way to sort of like break out the jargon, really think through like, why is it people do what they do? What are they passionate about, and how they explain that to a normal human being and not the other aliens they hang out with every day. I've learned a lot from you, Tyler, too, about how to sort of make those connections more rapidly.
That's so sweet. I'm so glad. Yeah, like I think that as someone who's interested in science but isn't necessarily or hasn't yet gotten the chance to learn what all of these jargony terms mean, it can feel kind of scary to talk to people who are so deep into this one tiny focus that they know everything about. Like, whether for our people in our lab it's streams, but if for other people I've talked to for this podcast, it's like salamanders, or it's carbon, or something completely different that I definitely did not understand off of the cuff. So I think learning how to communicate with each other and communicate with scientists specifically about the research that they're doing and why they're passionate about it has been such an incredible experience for me. And that's another reason why I think that talking to professors, not just about their research, but I highly encourage people to talk about their research, because it's really cool, but also about why they're doing it and how they exist as a person who does that work and is not in a vacuum. They have families and they have friends and that are like, oh, I don't really understand the science that my friend's doing, but it's probably cool. And talking to them about how they navigate that space is really cool.
Well, I mean, no one starts out in anything as an expert, right?
No.
By definition, right? And the converse of that is like experts really like to explain what
Yes.
they know. So the opportunity is there to bring those two groups together, and you just have to make it happen. So I guess maybe we could close with the most important advice we can give, or I would give, is like, make an effort, put yourself out there, learn other people's stories, and think about the stories that you want to tell by the time you get to the end of your experience at Duke. And come talk to faculty. We are eager to help you navigate this really exciting experience that you're embarking on. I'll close with that, and I'll let Tyler have the last word.
I mean, that's a pretty good last word, but I think the only thing I would add is ask questions. And remember that everyone that you're coming into contact with, even though right now, especially what right now, in such an I hate to say uncertain again, but in a really weird time, everyone is a person and everyone has a story. So ask questions, try to figure those out. And I think that you'll be really pleasantly surprised with the type of people that are here at Duke. There's some really amazing people.
Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for doing this.
Thank you.
And to all of you for listening to us, thanks for spending a few minutes between two ferns with Tyler and I. Bye.
Bye.